She is qualified in BSc, B.Ed, MBA, and M.Ed. Ma'am, we would like to hear from you what are the missing puzzles that we need to fix in the NEP 2000 policy on this amazing topic of NEP as a catalyst for towards education in future innovation sector. Welcome, ma'am. Take the privilege to start your speech on this.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for introducing me. And I also thank IDYM founder Ravi Shankar sir for giving us this wonderful platform. I'm just going to share my screen, ma'am.
Yeah. I want all the speakers to just relax. Please don't take stress.
Yes, ma'am, just my PPT. It did work. I hope my screen is visible, ma'am.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you. So we are here to talk about National Education Policy 2020 as a catalyst towards future innovation in different sectors. Now, as we talk about NEP 2020, there are five main pillars, foundational pillars of NEP. And these are quality, equity, access, accountability, and affordability. And all these five pillars are actually going to support and create a workforce that is going to be the base of future of the industrial revolution of India. Now let me talk about some key areas, key focus areas. Now here I'm only going to talk about those points which are relevant regarding our topic, that is future innovations in different sectors. How is NEP going to affect? So if you talk about holistic development, NEP is focusing on the holistic development of the students, of the children. And it will focus on the overall development. Holistic means the overall development of the child, that is not only academics, but it will also include physical, mental, social, emotional, and intellectual growth of a person. This will create better citizens. So as NEP is focusing on holistic development, so it is very much clear. It is very much clear that the future workforce of India is going to be much, much better, much more mature and more competitive. Let's come to the next point. NEP is also focusing on creating 21st century skills among the students, among the people. So this development of these skills are according to the global requirement. These citizens, these students will be prepared according to the skills which are globally acclaimed. So now the point is, what are these 21st century skills? We want children to be creative. They must be able to collaborate with others. Communication skills should be better and advanced. Their social skills, knowledge of technology. Now this knowledge of technology, we all know very well that technology is a part of each and every field out there. So their knowledge, technical knowledge is very much important. Then leadership skills and the growth mindset. So these skills are being developed at the school level only. So NEP is focusing on it's focusing on including all these 21st century skills among the students itself during the school days. And eventually in the higher studies, and then again the industries are going to get the students who are far competitive as compared to the present workforce. In case of higher education, we know that NEP has focusing on establishment of National Research Foundation. We all know that research is really very, very important for the development in the way for the various sectors. So, what will this research National Research Foundation do? It will take measures to improve the culture of research and innovation in various higher education institutions. Vocational trainings will prepare people to work as a technician. Vocational training is also there. It is a part of NEP, and they are focusing on providing trainings to students, a basic training of different vocationals. So what is the need of it? What is the need of it? The question is that as these students will come out for search of job, they will be somewhat aware of, they would have been they will have an experience like what all things there are possibilities which they can do. So they may take up to any skill or any vocational training. On the basis of that, they will be equipped with the basic knowledge of a particular field. So it will be easier for the employee as well as the employer too. Now, as we talked about research and innovation, now we know that from class 12th also the students are made to prepare a research project and work on it. So if such students then at higher education level also they will be into research, and eventually whatever the research improve the economy of the country too. Then if we talk of professional education, NEP is also focusing on the professional education. It's not that it's only for the students, but it has measures to improve the professionalism among the educators, not only educators, but in various other fields. And it will increase the ability of a person to obtain or advance in employment of any kind. So the professional growth of a person will be the focus of NEP 2020. We'll talk about the impact of these later. Now, if we talk of access to adult education and promoting lifelong learning, so NEP is also focusing on the adult education. We know that still there are many people who have been into work from their early age and they didn't even get time for getting enrolled into schools and all. So NEP is also focusing on the education for these people who are now adult but they have never been to school. So by these measures, they are actually promoting the lifelong learning. So eventually what will happen, India is going to have people who, the maximum number of people who are educated. So for them, the community learning and various activities will be conducted. Initiative will be taken to use school complexes for adult education and provide public library spaces. So in this manner, they are going to promote lifelong learning among people and trying to bridge that gap, make it a smaller gap, like trying to cover up the gap which they had during the education time. NEP is also focusing in the promotion of Indian art and culture. So what about it? Some skill-based trainings will be run regarding the Indian art and craft and culture, the handicrafts and all. So a basic training is given to at various levels. So now let's talk about, we have just now discussed the main features of NEP and we have discussed only those features which are related with the industry or some and different sectors. So let's talk about the impact of these specific key features. The very first we talk about the vocational training in school will enable the exposure of various fields. So what will happen? And this, at the school level only, at the school level only, these children, they are going to experience how a particular work is done. For example, as a technician, so they will have an experience of how a technician does his work, what are different types of various technical machinery in that, how that has to be corrected. And similarly, it can also include some other skill based jobs. So it will enable them to be aware of what all various fields are there where they can think of their future, where they can think of joining and being a part of it. Next point is availability of creative and innovative workforce. So as we have discussed earlier, that NEP is focusing on the holistic development. It is focusing on the holistic development. So what will happen because of that? The students that are prepared through this education system under the National Education Policy 2020, they will be more creative, they will be more innovative. And it means that in the coming years, India is going to have the most efficient workforce. So that is another positive impact of NEP 2020 that's going to help different sectors and industries. And not only this, during the NEP is not, as NEP is focusing on the overall development of the child, it is also making them learn the skills, various life skills. So as the children go learn these life skills, they also learn how to deal with the stress. And we all know that in the public sectors, as people going to join any workplace, so at some certain point of time they have to go through, they experience some stress in their life. So these students who, all those children who are going to study under the National Education Policy 2020, they will have enhanced coping abilities. They will be better in dealing with the stress at different levels. And not only this, they won't themselves deal with the stress, but they are going to help their colleagues also with coping with the stress and any other problem at the work area. Another major benefit is that at the early ages only, the students are made aware of the use of technology. And not only this, at every level, the primary, middle, senior secondary, higher education also, the use of technology is highly incorporated at various levels. So this is definitely going to benefit the children as they grow up and go to join any industry. Because in all the industrial areas, in all the different sectors, technology has become a very, very important part. And we can't even think of any sector that is not using technology for its efficient working. It also, NEP also is working, it has also planned to work for the promotion and growth of Indian handicrafts and industries. So this point itself tells us that definitely it's not going to improve the economy, Indian economy, because industries there will be industries and companies that are going to enhance, that are going to help the Indian handicraft reach out to various places on the globe. So the promotion of art, craft, and handicraft of different regions of India is certainly going to enhance. So NEP has included this also in its policy, and this will really benefit India, the Indian economy as a whole. Then we also can say simply that the national education policy is actually focusing on different sectors. In different sectors, the main workforce is the people. And if the people are well developed, they have a holistic development, then definitely wherever they go, they are going to make a major impact by their creativity, by the way they come up with the ideas of innovations, and by the way they may come up with the certain ideas that are at the global level, globally acclaimed level. So at the last, I would simply like to add up that NEP 2020 has been made after a lot of calculative assessment, so that each and every sector that is related with Indian economy is going to bloom under NEP 2020. I would like to end up by saying famous quote of APJ Abdul Kalam, that is, the purpose of education is to make good human beings with skill and expertise. So NEP 2020 is all about this. Thank you.
Excellent, ma'am. Excellent. Can I take the privilege to ask you some questions related to your PPT, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You had mentioned about the workforce and about the handicraft sector and one more thing. So, how can you think that in the handicraft center and what about the workforce? What are the strategies and the implementation techniques one can use to enable the students to implement this NEP 2020 policy into actual implementation program? What are the ways? What are the techniques? Because we need to know what are the techniques, because we have been hearing we need to do this. But how can one do? We need to know a little bit of ideas and techniques. Can you just give us some idea about it, ma'am?
Ma'am, would you please just repeat your question, please?
Yeah, you had mentioned about implementation of this kind of workforce. What kind of a workforce were you concentrating on, or what kind of workforce we need to emphasize more on?
Okay, yes, ma'am. See, if we talk about the present scenario, right? So we find out that most of the students, there was a time when the majority of children were moving towards the private sector. Yes, and they were all enrolling into some kind of job somewhere else, but creating some any innovation of their own and going for something, a business of their own, this culture has really reduced. So NEP 2020, when we talk of workforce, so workforce doesn't only emphasize on uh, the workforce that is employed by someone, but uh, it also focuses on the workforce which has the ability to do something by their own. They can be entrepreneurs.
Okay. And you spoke about the handloom sector, the textiles, and all that. So I think most of the parents are under the impression that textiles and handloom and all this is not going to help our children in any way. How can schools incorporate this? Because handlooms and textiles are never ending throughout life. But this is not incorporated in the schools. So how can one use strategies and techniques to implement this kind of sector into the academics so that children pick up this as a career also? So like we are talking about NEP as a catalyst towards future innovation sector. So this is the future innovation sector. So what are the strategies and equipments and what are the techniques we need to develop? Because unless and until we educators won't be able to narrate your experiences, what are the next upcoming high scaled careers in the next 15 years, we will not be able to generate manpower, we will not be able to generate the techniques to implement. So how can the schools implement this handloom sector and textiles from children from standard 8 to 9, 10th onwards? So some idea about it.
Yes, ma'am. What my view is, I think that what can be done is students can be given an exposure or a industry visit of different textiles. Then there may be some visits done to the handicraft sector too, so that children are first of all aware of what is the the regional culture, what is the art of the region where they belong to. So this must be done at the early stages. But I think a child of class 6, 7, 8, they should be aware of, like if they are in the city, in a particular city, they must be first of all knowing what is that handicraft that is famous in my city. So that visit should be made, and then some local craftsmen should be called to school so that the students can learn what it is. So it may be planned something like a particular art is taught at a particular class, sixth class, then seventh, then eighth, then ninth. And then it can be regarding the textiles, it can be the block printing or any such techniques. At least when the children get exposure, they will have an idea what it is about. It will develop an interest
Exactly, yeah.
also in what they will do.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. We need to expose them to the real life workforce, the real life of textile mills, because I have seen that most of the children pick up science, chemistry, and bio, and they are not interested. They have to do it. But after 10th, they have an option of selecting careers of fashion designing and certain other things which are not there in the academic in the school. So if schools
Yes.
start incorporating through the 8th, 9th, 10th standards, the children will be very highly skilled when they jump on the career of fashion designing or textile manufacturing. So this is what we are concentrating on. What is missing in the NEP? The schools should pick up these subjects into the academics so that children, when they're out of the school, they can start taking this as a career, having the basic knowledge of what textiles is and how they can be exposed to the real experience of field trips and be taken to weaving sectors, because I think India is full of rich heritage and culture. And if
Yes, ma'am.
given a proper kind of encouragement and motivation, proper kind of real academic knowledge, incorporating this kind of innovation as a catalyst, the children will emerge more successful in those kind of areas also where talent is still hidden and we need to remove that talent. So thank you,
Yes,
ma'am,
ma'am.
for your presentation. Thank you so much. I'm
Thank you,
sorry
ma'am.
to ask you such a challenging question. Thank you.
Can I interrupt, Sonal
Yeah,
ma'am?
yeah,
I think there should be a compulsion for these kind of courses in the school. When the
that's what.
compulsion is there, then only the student will be coming on onto that particular thing, because again, our students are like specific science or maths. So we should force them. We should compel them to opt these options. Like we
That's what.
used to
Yeah,
have when we used to study in school, we used to have SUPW. We used to do the knitting, we used to do everything. But now I
Yes.
think this have been
missing.
totally been opted, like option area hai. So it's not there. So we should have that kind of options, and then
That is
we can work on these skills.
that is why I'm saying, when we are talking about innovation in different sectors, what are those sectors and how educators, even when the government is going to implement or not going to implement, why can't the schools pick up this on their own and start using this
Yes,
as an SUP
yes,
subject rather than using that
yeah.
time for those kind of things which may not be fruitable or productive,
Or
etc.
we can have second or fourth Saturdays as these days where they will just learn these skills.
If
If
definitely.
these are included in all the curriculum, all the schools start following this, I think we can have a more affiliation towards these kind of skills.
That is what NDP is concentrating. Talent बाहर निकालो, बच्चों के अंदर जो talent है उसे बाहर निकालो, अंदर
बाहर
दबने मत
निकालो.
दो, because these
Okay.
talents are going to become careers for them in later life, and we are not
Yes.
trying to unleash it. Thank you so much, Pooja ma'am. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So I will take forward my lead to the second speaker, that is Dr. Dr. Imani Alam, the what do you call as the princess of the IDYM for love for education. And welcome, ma'am, for your inputs on this sector. Welcome. You're on mute, ma'am.
Yes, welcome, my dear sister. I'm very happy to be with all of you today. So thank you you for giving me the chance to be with you. Appreciation to IDYM and all respected colleagues. And let's go. So today we are talking about the relation between NAB and our future. So, according to Peter Eckel, accessing change and transformation in higher education is an essential task for leaders. So educational organizations are places of leadership to get leaders of today and tomorrow. So we are talking about a future. So no good future without leaders. So sharing knowledge and science is not a job. So we are not workers in any place. We are messengers to distribute and to share knowledge all over the globe, not inside a certain country. We need to improve ourselves to be able to improve our students, to improve the future. And we have two important things. We must focus on them. We have our responsibilities on doing motivation. As I said before, love is started and ended by learning and education, and without learning and education, I think the value of life will be zero. Let's talk about National Educational Policy, NAP of India, 2020. It's approved by the Union Cabinet of India on 29th of July 2020, and it outlines the vision of new educational system of India. The new policy replaces the previous national policy on India. It's, I think, returns to 34 years before having our new NAB, National Educational Policy, or new educational policies. Let's talk about India's first Bharat-centric education policy, according to what is mentioned by Grawal post on 19th of July 2021. The National Educational Policy, crafted under the able leadership of former educational minister, Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal. I think I'm trying to pronounce the name in a good manner. He is a strategic, he used, a strategic blend tools to enable students to become strategically competitive so as to perform well at the global level. So we are talking about the future. So according to NAB, there is a competition between India and the globe. We need to have students at the international, at their best international level. So the new NAB, as I said before, coming after 34 years. It's unique as it drives, it's based from Bharat-centric values, culture, and languages. The best part of NAB is its a clear vision and defined objectives to drive the education to 2025, creation of National Research Foundation, multiple entry and exit options, academic bank of credit, and provision of local language medium up to primary level. We are talking about the future. So must have a change according to the UN agenda of 2020-30. The education system changed from 5-3-3+4 structure to the new system done in India. In fact, the author said he is strongly feels that NAB 2020 is the first Indian educational policy in the history of independent India, as it lays tremendous focus on Indian value system, culture, and traditional knowledge, which was never seen before in the old system. It's a unique education policy in the world that ensures equality. We are talking about equality and social justice and empowerment and making progress for achieving a great cohesive nation, a great and cohesive nation. So we are talking about the future. No good future can be obtained without equality, without social justice, without empowerment, without making progress and improvement to achieve a great and cohesive nation. It's a unique in the world because it's guiding, managing, leading the largest education system in the world. It has appeared as national educational policy that caters to the requirement of the world's largest education system, dealing with diverse forms of communities, populations, and public. As you know, India has multicultural people, so India contains I think a huge diversity. So to achieve this balance, we are in a real need to such a system of education, which is NAB. If you are talking about the improvement of health, you must start from improving the mind. So the health of the body is located in the health of the mind. So we need to focus on education to do a balance and to improve the health of the body totally, with a special reference to the health of mind. What is the vision of NEB? The vision of NEB focuses on inoculating a spirit of rightness and with worldly wisdom. So we are focusing on the rightness and focusing on the wisdom and advanced skills in India, issues and culture. So you need to talk about wisdom. We need to talk about human rights. We need to talk about advanced skills. We need to talk about ethics. Ethics is very important in the issue of education. We need to talk about culture. The fundamentals of this NAB has been divided into separate parts. We have school education and higher education. I think we can't separate school education from higher education because during school education you are starting doing the basis of higher education. So without school education, we can't obtain a good quality of higher education. So we need to focus on both of them. NAB 2020 focus on the following points. First, restructuring educational system and the importance of language skill. We are talking about literacy. Second item is analytical skills, numeracy, and rote learning to experiential learning. Third, we are talking about redesigning evaluation system, equity, accessibility, and also flexibility, and developing employability skill. So as we said before, there is a great relation between the education and the employment chances. So if you have people at highly educated level, so employment chances will be increased. So we are talking about also employability skills. It will be improved. As you know, national educational policy is called also India-centric education policy. According to Manipur Chief Minister, he terms NEB 2020 as India-centric educational policy. Manipur Chief Minister N. Parin Sen on Thursday termed NEB 2020 as India-centric education policy, and he said that education is the backbone of the society. So how can we get a better future without focusing on the backbone of the society? So it's very important to know that education is the backbone of the society, as Chief Minister said. So in Imphal also, he said education is the backbone of a society and no progress and development could be achieved without education. Totally agree. He urged teachers to render their services from the heart. We need to do our services from the heart. We need to appreciate and respect our responsibility towards students. And also, he inaugurated one-day panel discussion on NAB in infant. Speaking at the occasion, he said that NAB 2020 is an India-centric education policy. He added that NAB aims to incorporate the teaching of vocational skills within the school curriculum to augment innovation, adaptability, and productivity. It will help in solving the problem of unemployment of larger extent, to a larger extent. Because, as I said before, employment is affected by education, so focusing on education will support the issue of employment. Traditional India education values and the new NAB adopted by India. There is a paper. This paper is done by Varsha Patel and Kiran Patel. The new educational policy is promoting India value-based education with all inclusive eco-development of holistic education, parent-centric education, development of knowledge-based society, and also emphasis on knowledge-based education. We need to focus on knowledge-based education and also holistic education. It's very important to talk about holistic education. The India Education Ministry is implementing NAB 2020. All schools across India will educate students on NAB basis, and the previous education policy of schools pattern is changing to be 5+3+3+4. Education is the most powerful weapon through which we can change the world. This is said by Nelson Mandela, and it's very important to correlate this phrase by NAB 2020. Moral value reforms in NAB. After 3 decades in education, as I said before, this change come after 34 years, are considered to be revolutionary to the world for building strong characters and values, especially when there is huge crisis of moral values in society. As you know, there is many huge crises related to moral values in society. So NAB came also to focus on moral values of society. Objectives of value-based education is in modern years, all teaching professionals are equipped with all technological gadgets and pedagogical practice. They are required to serve to compensate the increasing demands associated with the teaching profession. Also, establishing a theory of interrelation between NAB and the value-based education will be either due to the assignment of objectives. Let us assign some of the specific objectives that will fulfill value-based education. We need to talk about how to provide value-based education to inoculate word-based and add on moral and spiritual and physiological and cultural values in students. Also, we need to provide value-based education useful to develop community with humanity approach along with scientific view with pure intention of growth of country and world toward betterment. To provide value-based education which will useful to identify ethics relating to activities involved with which will be related to the implementation of education for critical thinking. It's a very important focus on the issue of critical thinking. To provide value-based education with multidisciplinary approach that must be useful for implementing self-resilient, vibrant personalities, providing motivation to others. We need to be multidisciplinary educators to be able to complete our students and to motivate them. To provide value-based education, which will be useful to provide opportunities for students to think about and to clarify their own values and compare them with those of others. We need to talk about competition. If we are talking about future, so we are talking about improvement, we are talking about competition, how be competitive with the globe. To provide value-based education, which will develop instructional e-content material and lesson plans with which values can be taught effectively. So we are talking about e-content, and also we are talking about values must be included inside all curriculum. To implement ways in which education will motivate the acceptance of certain social values such as tolerance, spirit of cooperation, and teamwork. It's very important to focus on such values. How NEB is addressing India value-based teaching learning ecosystem. The traditional Indian value-based ecosystem and NEB interrelation can be established in the following ways. We are talking about all inclusiveness inside it, development of holistic education, parrot-centric education, development of knowledge-based society, and emphasis on knowledge-based education, development of holistic education to make students self-reliant and complete. The word holistic development of learners must be included. Parrot-centric education, global world, and parrot-centric values are to be learned by students in NEB. Blending of parrot-centric values is done by blending culture and languages. It's very important. Development of knowledge-based society, practical and skill-based knowledge is included. Emphasis on knowledge-based education. We are talking about creativity along with education also. NEB is promoting India value education with eco-development of holistic education, parrot-centric education, development of knowledge-based society, and emphasis knowledge-based education. Students will be better prepared before they reach college, will have opportunities to explore their passion and interest. It's very important to explore their passion and interest inside education, and will learn to study in a better manner. So you are preparing not students, you are preparing educators of tomorrow. We are talking about future. So by this way, you are preparing the educators of tomorrow. Teamwork, resilience, and communication skills are improved also and are enhanced. All in all, the NEB seems like a good deal. India today, 2020, at 25 of August 2020. Let's talk about how can education and how can NEB itself affect on the future. As you know, we have 17 goals called Sustainable Development Goals. According to these 17 goals, let's summarize them in a very fast way. The first of them is no poverty, second is zero hunger, and third is good health, fourth, quality education. So the fourth is affecting all of them. And the 17th is included combination of all goals. So let's talk about sustainable development goals. These goals is to keep humanity at its best status. So by using 17 interacting goals, they are not separating at all. They are interactive to achieve sustainability. Science and education is the two important keywords in this issue. So education affects in all goals and being affected also by all of them. So we are talking about, for example, improvement of teacher skills, development and sustainable development goals to be multidisciplinary person. So the educator will think by many minds, not only one mind. So also we are talking about digitalization, eco-friendship, and globalization. We are talking about, for example, something like diabetes educators and health educators. So we are talking about interaction between health and education. So we are talking about number 4 plus number 3 as a simple. If you are talking about equitable and inclusive education, so you are talking about right-based agenda against inequality. So you are talking about sustainable development goals, number 5 and 4 and 10 and 16. So we need to focus on multidisciplinary education. According to the UNESCO agenda, we need to focus on knowledge-driven action, transforming higher education for a global sustainability. We need to talk about independent expert group on the universities work inside the agenda of 2030 of the United Nations. According to the 2030 agenda of United Nations, if we are talking, for example, about higher education on institution, so higher education institutions must take on a stronger role to tackle the world's most pressing issues. So you need to talk about the need to move towards inter and transdisciplinary modes of producing and circulating knowledge. You need to talk about imperative of becoming open on institutions, fostering epidemic dialogue and integration with diverse ways of knowing. Also, you need to talk about the demand of stronger presence in society. We need to correlate education and society. So this engagement is very important. We need to talk about also smart goals of sustainable development goals and also smart goals of education. We need to be smart. We need to be specific, measurable, attainable. We need to have goals characterized by being smart, specific, measurable, attainable and relevant and time framed. So we need also to focus on many elements to acquire knowledge, like thinking, listening, observing, writing, reading, learning, and discussing. This is according to Sajiv. We need to focus on leadership, globalization, online universities, AI, advanced sciences, interdisciplinary. We need to have multidisciplinary educators. We need to do a motivation, assessment, and evaluation to know what is now to improve it for the future. We are talking about the future. So if you are talking about improvement, you need to do assessment and evaluation. So it must be a real evaluation, not fake evaluations. So you can use this evaluation to improve. We need to overcome all crises. For example, COVID directed us to be online people. We need to talk on digital transformation, blended learning, hybrid conferences, quality assurance. It's very essential to build humanistic and ethical, inclusive, and purpose-based digital transformation of higher education for the globe common good. What about digital transformation? It's one of the 4 strategic priorities of the IAU, International Association of Universities. So the COVID pandemic has, as never before, accelerated digital transformation of higher education, and it is an opportunity to reflect our wishes to shape the future of higher education in an increasingly digital world. We are talking about digital world, digital globe. Not only COVID, before and after COVID, we are in a real need to digital transformation. But we have some challenges. We have some refusal people. We have some people against modification, against advancement. So let's say to them, bye-bye. We need to be moved to the future. So we need to avoid such criticism. I think maybe some people are giving us some negativity. So we need to have our international and national framework to measure the change. We need to have framework for determining the evidence of transformation. We are talking about transformation. How can we know that already we are transformed? We need to do change in curriculum, pedagogy, and also we need to talk about student learning assessment. We need to talk about policies in education. We need to talk about budgets and also institutional structure, decision-making structures. We need to have inside higher education institutes and also school. We need to have leaders, not only the principal and the vice principal. We need to have leaders at all levels. We need also to talk about group interactions, languages, culture, conservation topics, and also we need to return to old arguments to have a better future. We need to talk about stakeholder relationships. We have also a challenge. We need to talk about development of educators to be modern educators. We need to talk about professional development skills of modern educators. So we need to move education from being only lessons to be study, knowledge, experience, and skill. We need to improve skills of educators. We need to improve their ability to grow. We need to put them in advanced training programs. We need to improve their knowledge and their learning abilities. And also we need to push them towards holistic learning. We need to be competitive. So we have many skills related to modern educators, like being tolerant, storytelling, opening discussion, also communication skills, social educators. Sorry, I said it in Arabic. We need to be well prepared. We need to be innovative educators. We need to use technology in improving ourselves. So skills, including thinking activities, discussion, skill goals, and practical activities. It's very important to be practical people, not only theoretical. We need also to focus on professional development, including mentoring, consultation, practice, study improvement, and reflection. I need to have feedback. I need to improve. I need to learn more and more and more. So if I have no feedback, I need to have honest feedback. So to improve myself, to improve the future. So also we need to be in continuous professional development. We need to talk about learning, growth, marketing, work leadership, business, creativity, improvement of skills. We need to be pushed to the success. Also, we need to have career development of educators based on self-assessment, career awareness, goal setting, skill training, and best performance. So we have many challenges. We have the educator himself or herself. We have colleagues and some people. We can call them as refusing people. They are refusing any change. They are refusing any modification. They have offline mentality. we have students, we have curriculum, so we need to improve all things. We need to improve, and we need to be better in all levels. So also we need to talk about curriculum development. It must have a vision and mission. It must skill and has a skill and knowledge progression. It must be also intent and more broad and balanced with high impact effect also. It must include implementation and action plans. So it must be directed to smart goals, to achieve smart goals. We need also to talk about self-development and holistic learning. We need to improve ourselves. We need to attend workshops, seminars, conferences, training programs. We need to be updated. We need to focus on training and development. So we are talking about training, coaching, teaching, knowledge, development, learning, experience, and improvement of skills. So we need to focus on inquiry. Inquiry is ranged between teaching and learning. We need to ask, we need to investigate, we need to create, we need to discuss, we need to reflect. We need to be in active learning. We need to focus on inquiry-based teaching and the learning of all modern sciences. So we need to be active educators and active learners. We need to improve research skills of students and youth researchers. By these ways and this strategy, we will affect the future. We will be better educators. So to conclude, NEB affects on all levels of the future, affects on the future at all its levels. As you know, Sustainable Development Goals is summarizing what is required for humanity. So if you want to change the future, you need to change today. So NEB changed the today of education to have a better future. So let's move to better future by value-based education. It's very important that NEB is value-based education. So without value, we will be zero value. Thank you very much. And appreciation to all of you. Thanks our great moderator, Dr. Sonel, and also Dr. Pooja. Thanks for all colleagues. Thanks for speakers before and after me. Appreciation to IDYM, Dr. Ravi and Dr. Ginas and Ms. Donnell. Appreciation to all of you, and thank you very much.
Awesome, ma'am. It's always a pleasure to hear from you, because you being a researcher also in the field of science and the biology, the most of it. So I would like to ask you just one or two questions, ma'am. Can I take the privilege?
Yes, ma'am. Please.
Yeah. So you spoke about assets. So what do you think? What assets are there that we need to try to focus more on for creating this kind of innovation in different sectors? And what are the sectors that are missing and what is not there in the education system? We'd love to hear from you.
Yes. If you are talking about ethics, it's very important because ethics is a life itself. So without ethics, so no humanity respects. So ethics is highly required. We need to appreciate ethics of, for example, copyright, intellectual property rights. We need to respect other opinions. We need to be acceptable people. We are not allowed to accept or refuse others because they are already done. So we must appreciate and respect others. We must also appreciate our responsibility. It's an ethics. Motivating others, ethics. I think ethics is all things. Without ethics, nothing. So stop educating the students without educating them and learning and teaching them ethics, because without ethics, no education. Here in Egypt, we are connecting the ethics with education. So I think
excellent, ma'am. Excellent. Yeah, that is what we wanted to hear about. Yeah. We wanted to hear on this sector from you. Satyang, thank you so much for your insightful, knowledgeable inputs. And let us look forward that all this is implemented through educators, through this NEP policy on IDYM. I think it is excellently going and creating wonders over the education sectors. People have started listening and started hearing this session because a lot of constructive and productive inputs have been put in by all the speakers. So thank you very much, ma'am, for your presence over here. And I would like to call my third esteemed guest, that is Miss Ekta Abrol, ma'am. Please take the center stage and welcome. Pleasure to hear from you. What is more needed now? The missing loops.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's a great pleasure to be a part of IDYMF team, and it's always great knowledge to listen from you and attend these sessions. So a lot has been said by respected Iman ma'am and Ritambhara ma'am. I would just extend to what I have learned and through what we are going, because I'm a teacher in the primary sector. So what I am observing is that when this NEP, when we talk about NEP, our national education policy, it has just brought wonders in the education fundamentals. Because as the target says 2030, and when I assume my children who are in class 5, they are going to face the world after 10 years. So when they'll be coming to the college, they will have a new world for them. So it's really bringing wonders in education fundamentals and creating a drastic transformation in the life of many school and college going students, as it is introducing and incorporating more creativity, more learning experiments, and it's also helping them to visualize the art in the education sector. And this policy is overall, we can say that it's a very comprehensive framework from elementary to higher education, as it is giving a floor for vocational training in both rural and urban India. As we were talking about handicrafts and handlooms, it's just bridging up the lapse between the rural and urban India, so that urban India feels connected to the traditional roots and rural area feels connected to the modernized setup. Now, we would really appreciate, but being a teacher, I really appreciate that this policy, which has been approved by the Union Cabinet, it outlines the whole vision of Indian education system. It's like that how it's going to connect us with the global world. It replaces the previous national policy of education and proposes the various reforms which were required in the school education to connect to the advancement to the higher education. Now, the major thrust of this policy has been to transform the cross-disciplinary research. When I talk about cross-disciplinary research, I feel like that I'm connecting the education which was being provided to our children through all cross-curricular links as well as to the GCEs, so that they are ready to face the world by being the global citizens of this world. And how are we going to do this? How is this thrust going to help them? It's really going to create new knowledge hubs, digital gurus, and more discussion forums as a platform. This platform is the best example of the discussion forum. And the major vision, the vision which has been reflected by our policy is to make India is a global knowledge center, which is oriented towards the pious vision of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That again, we are going to be the leaders. Now, when we talk about professional education, which is being imparted through this system, through this policy, it would be an integral part laying a very strong foundation of higher education system by standing alone to develop technical universities, health science universities, legal. But when I talk about legal, it means that more related to law and order than agricultural universities and institutions in these or other fields, sorry, which have the major aim to make an institution a multidisciplinary institution, so that whosoever is coming there, each and every child is being catered to his requirement. The whole professional education is going to be personalized as per the need of each and every child. And the focus is on the teacher's education as well, so that it is more stage specific than the teacher's training. They all are going to be a very important part of this national mission, so that they are able to mentor and create new autonomous bodies and provide a platform for the free exchange of ideas on the use of technology to enhance learning, assessment, planning, administration. I mean, the core areas which are more required when we apply our knowledge to reflect the skills which we have acquired. So the most appropriate integration of technology into all levels of education, so that we can achieve 100% youth and adult literacy. Yes, it sounds big, but definitely we are going to do it in next 8 years. Then there are going to be multiple mechanisms with checks and balances will combat and stop the commercialization of the higher education. This is one of the greatest need of this hour, that commercialization of higher education has to be checked, which has not been checked since so many years. Now we talk about the envision. The envision is that by 2030, I mean after next 8 years, sorry, our country is going to be the youngest nation in the world, because we'll be having more than 140 million students in the college going group. Now, amongst this 140 million students who will be going to the college, 1 in every 4 graduates in the world is going to be a product of our Indian education system. It's really going to be a very proud moment for us. And it's a promising document. This whole document is really very promising, because it's offering more and more opportunities for the progress of the higher education ecosystem. When I talk about higher education ecosystem, I mean that research output and ranking of the universities. And this all emphasizes that learners should be vocal for the ancient knowledge, the knowledge provided by our ancestors, and the traditional of New Bharat. Now, when we talk about research, the focus on the research is always going hand in hand along with being related to the roots of the ancient knowledge and our traditional India. Now, when we talk about these research, what are these research going to do for our country? Why do we need research in our system? We need research in our system so that we are self-sufficient and more pertinent. When we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat. How are we going to be Atmanirbhar? Only when we are going to do more of research. More of research means intervention of knowledge. The knowledge which a child is gaining has to be understood and then developed into the skills, so that the real application of knowledge is reflected in life of our children. Now, when we talk about this research, it asks for a lot of investment, heavy investments. These investments we have to invest in research. Now, when we are making investments in research, I call it real investments rather than calling it an expenditure, because it will definitely give us high returns, consistently high returns over a long period of time. It's not that what we are investing is going to get over. It's going to keep on increasing. That return will keep on increasing. That is why we call it investment. Now, return on this investment for the expenditure of research will always be high. Now, when we are going to focus on the research, we will definitely expose our young minds to the cultural, linguistic, and socio-economic diversities through the system of school, through the system of education, which is going to be an integral part of their life. I mean, it's going to be like we follow our morning daily routine. It's going to be as easy and as compulsory for them without making them know that we are imposing this on them. And it's going to trigger many students to find solutions to the different issues that plague our society. How? Because the children are going to understand the relevance of what they are studying, what is being incorporated into their courses. Now, research for the matter of education has not been a priority for several last decades. For so many years, research was not our priority. We were just having what was being served to children, and everyone was happy with the platter which was being served to them. But now it's like new dishes being added to their platter, with making it more tasty and salty and spicy. And now our National Research Foundation has mooted through NEP, and it has really brought some hope to the younger generation, because and this pandemic time has really been a blessing in disguise for our children, because they were able to explore various parameters. Those who were keen in excelling in the research field, they can see it as a step to boost the quality of the research. Then our children are going to acquire several skills that are going to help them achieve milestones while they strive for excellence. I mean, both the things are going to work together. They'll be achieving milestones and they will be striving for excellence, because there will be no parameter to check their performances. Their skills are going to be assessed. So the change in the assessment system is also going to be a blessing for them, because no one is going to grade them through marks. Their performances will be measured by the skills and their learning outcomes. Now they will also measure the excellence in terms of outcomes, as well as they achieve greater common goal for helping less fortunate people. How? When we are talking about startups, new industries, more of employment, it's going to be so flexible and accountable that it's going to improve the quality as well. And as well, it's going to, the major benefit I see here is it's going to address the national needs with global standards. I mean, whatever was local, it's going to be transformed to the global parameters. The quality is being improved. Quantity, of course, we will improve. It sounds like a dream, but we look for a dream to come true. And definitely this NEP is going to act as a catalyst. It's definitely going to as a catalyst for developing the quality of higher education sector in India, as well as playing a major role in transforming the whole education sector. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. I think you totally binded the missing loops of Iman ma'am and Tambara ma'ams. And since you said you are a primary educator, so that is, I think, the right stage to start inculcating the missing loops, because if you won't start from there, later on it will be very late. And बाद में हम कहते हैं हमें ये पहले शुरू कर देना चाहिए था, ये अभी बहुत लेट हो गया. So the change has to start as early as possible. For me, being an early childhood educator, it is very important to see that we start from the moment the child starts the schooling. with age appropriate techniques and age appropriate mental stability of the child. So, and you, the second point that you really well put is the mixing of the rural and the urban, which was missing till now, and we don't know how to do it. I think in olden days we saw when pandemic struck the whole world, all the migrant workers from India, they migrated to their place. Why? What was the reason behind it? Can I ask you, ma'am, what was the reason behind it?
Because they were not being accepted. Their identity has been given a new platform. When being a teacher, I take grade 5. When I was discussing about this migration, why do people migrate? Students were very clear with the picture that if they get the same opportunity at the place where they are, why will they leave their place? No one wants to leave his home. They all leave for betterment. If they are getting better things at the place where they are staying, they will definitely not move. And why not grow at the same place?
Exactly. That is what I'm trying to say. We educated people, we call ourselves educated. Can you believe that our home culture, our whole professional culture is dependent on those people who migrated? The whole system was shaken up. The maids were not coming, the small scale industry shut up, the small scale shops shut up. तो पूरा डिपेंडेंट उस पे हो गया था और
And
सफर तो
that
हमने ही
is
करना
why,
था.
ma'am, that is why I call it a blessing in a disguise, because children realize that they are able to do those things for which they were dependent on them. They realize that even life can go without these people also. So they've understood the dignity of labor. So this has been instilled in their heads that nothing is small, that earlier a person who has been educated was not ready to do a small job. Means there was a difference, but now they're ready to do anything which is going to bring them money. They have understood the importance that yes, no work is small, and they have understood how hard it is to do. So
Definitely.
it's like being
See,
respectful
yeah,
for
I
each
think
and everyone.
COVID has opened the mindset of a human person. The potential a human being has is immense. Only thing was we didn't have the right channels to bring them out. We didn't have the right kind of motivational support to bring these things out. So now, when you are in the primary educator, I would like to ask you one question, ma'am. What is the exact meaning of catalyst? Can you tell me the exact meaning of catalyst? One question is that.
Yeah, when I talk about of this term catalyst, it's something that triggers. It triggers the activity. So this NEP is going to trigger their minds, their lives, their education, and orient it towards what is required to make us global leaders.
Exactly.
We
You
are
can call
going
it
to be the leaders.
yeah. You can call it as a triggering force. You can call it as we call जैसे एक bombardment हुआ है हमारे life में. One is that, and one all these things all culminated together to bring a change for working towards one sector. Because I think the moment pandemic started, everything was shaken. Learning was not stopped. Teachers adapted to technology. कैसे भी करके नहीं भी आता था लैपटॉप पे बैठ गए ऑनलाइन क्लासेस हो गई so that is a catalyst for us educators also to adapt to the
Yes.
kind of a technology kind of a teaching. That is what I would
It
call the
is-
first innovation from our side.
It has transformed our lives as well, because
Yes.
even we were stagnant with the system. Whatever is going, it's going well. This is the best mode of teaching. But now we see that so much of learning can take place when we are at distant also, like we are sitting here and discussing with each other. Who thought 2 years back that we'll be meeting on such a platform and meeting so learned people and discussing these parameters with so much of innovation?
That is what called in Indian culture हम कहते हैं that from rolling pins to laptop to multitasking, handling the job, the career, the kitchen, and the children, and everything was like the goddess with 9 hands instead of 9 goddesses with so many hands. We were just one goddess with multiple hands, and we had this time management skills. So, these are all small nuggets of innovation in different sectors, which we implemented on our own, and we saw the change that we can bring. And the way you said rural ka jo hai, art and craft hai, we have to, it's the right time now to start implementing the rural art and craft into the current state of NEP 20 policy. And let us bring a change. Let us start implementing. Let all the schools take them to the village, show them the village culture, how people work. How I think सबसे बड़ी बात तो है the manual labor, the sedentary work that they do, इतनी उनमें ताकत है कि वो थकते नहीं है. हम थोड़ा सा काम करते हैं, थक जाते हैं. So that kind of innovation can be shown to the children, see the spirit of those workers and see the culture in the urban state. So, I mean, it's a very in-depth learning innovation in different sectors, but the start has been done through IDYM, to people like you who are the catalyst to bring the change over here. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
And please have a glass of water first.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And I would like to take forward my discussion on one of the smiling, beautiful face, that is Ushavati ma'am, Dr. Ushavati Shetty. I think she's the principal in a Mumbai school. Welcome, ma'am, to hear from you, your inputs, your experiences.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sonal ma'am. And thank you for that compliment. A very good evening to all the esteemed people here on the platform. And I truly appreciate Imam ma'am, the kind of research that she has done. And she has spoken about NEP, India, hailing from Egypt. She has spoken about Radhakrishnan sir, who had implemented the NEP prior to this. So really very appreciable, Imam ma'am. Ekta ma'am and Rita ma'am, I have heard your deliberations as well. And I think, Sonal ma'am, everything has been covered. By the time it came to me, everything has been covered. But still, I would
No,
like
ma'am, there is still a lot more, ma'am.
Yes.
There is still a lot more.
I would like to state my views and ideas on this particular topic. Since the time it has been coming to the forte, lot has been spoken, lot has been mentioned on the platforms, lot has been written about it. But when we look at the NEP, why did we need that? When we talk about the earlier education policy, if we talk about the pre-independence policy, there were two types. One was prior to the British rule and one was during the British rule. If you see the comparative policy at that point of time, you will notice that prior to the British rule, we did have policy which was basically for the benefit of the students in terms of intellectual level. But when it came to the British time policy, you will notice that more focus was given on reading, writing, and arithmetic. Why? Because at that point of time, we were being ruled. And when we were being ruled, all the major important positions were taken up by the British. And what did they want? They wanted assistance for them. So all the education that was given, the focus on the English language or the focus on reading or the focus on writing, if you notice rote learning, focus on memory, if you see there was no collaborative learning. Still, there is no collaborative learning lately, and more focus on competitiveness, more focus on your marks, what you can write in the examination, how you are being graded on an individual level. So all that was basically, should I say, trained to prepare assistants. We needed change. Definitely, we needed change. And the policy that has been rolled out after that also tried to bring about a lot of change. And prior to that NEP also, if you remember, Rajaram Mohan Roy tried to inculcate some amount of changes in the policy. If you have read history, you'll know that he tried to implement our local language. He wanted Sanskrit to be a part of it. Some wanted Persian to be a part of it, but it did not culminate to it. It did not materialize. But yes, later on, as and when we started moving ahead, more focus was given on the second language. English was always a language of communication. English was always a language of, or rather, the medium of education. But at the same time, somewhere down the line, slowly and steadily, Hindi became the national language, and it had to be implemented as one of the second languages. And then yes, we had the privilege of having a third language as well. So, in most of the states, you will see that there are three languages being taught: English, Hindi being the second language, and one of the local languages being taught as the third language. And as it progressed, we made some changes and we implemented science and technology as well. So, you will notice that yes, we are definitely moving ahead slowly and steadily. But yes, the recent NEP 2020 that has come up, it has come up as a, it is a visionary document. I'll put it that way. It is a visionary document, and if it is implemented properly, it will definitely bring about a huge amount of change. As of now, what I can see is it looks beautiful on paper. It looks absolutely beautiful on paper, and the government might have thought about it a lot. A lot of thought has gone into it, because they are talking about foundational courses, they are talking about languages, they are talking about the vocational training, they are talking about the mixing of the disciplines, and it looks very good. But still, in today's times, it is not implemented. And when will we face challenges? When we are actually implementing it. And also, whoever is listening to this, I would like to say that whenever we are implementing, understand that it is, we will come to know nitty gritties of it or the flaws of it when we are actually putting it to work. So instead of making a huge hue and cry about, oh, this is this, this is that, it can be you should focus on the issues. We should focus on, okay, this can be implemented in a better manner. And if you notice, the what I have been reading through is the changes that has happened in the new, in the policies, in the education policies. It has not happened frequently. It has taken many years. But if you see the way at which we are progressing, the way at which technology is changing, every 4 year there is a wave. Every 4 year there is a change. So we need to, after implementing this, need to keep updating this. If it is not updated, then it will become stagnant. Why? Because if we are not updating it, we are following the same flaws that are there in the system. Now, we as educators, when students come to our school, they are blank slate, I'll say. As learning starts right from lower classes, students are a blank slate. But are we? We have been in this industry for ages. There are people who have been into the system for decades, 20 years, 30 years into the teaching field. How open are we for this change? Are we willing to come out of our comfort zones? Are we willing to adopt the new policy? Because we as educators, we as innovators, we can put up a lot of platforms, we can give a lot of training, but how much is it being accepted? Because it is, after all, the teacher, it is, after all, the mentor who is going to implement it. Are we willing to accept the change? Because that is where I have seen change of mindset is really very, very important. And change is very difficult. Until and unless we accept change, until and unless we are able to accept the newness, it is not possible for us to implement what we want to implement. And as I said, when we are in the classrooms, when we are teaching the children, children are open to all the ideas. We took time. Pandemic, the 2 years of pandemic that we got, it was a buffer period for us to understand the policy. And most of us know the policy inside out. But how many of us are comfortable putting it into practice? Why are we waiting for the government to say, go ahead and start? We know what the policy is all about. Why not start it at our own level, at our own pace? Still today, we see that many of the students move out of our country for further education. But if you look at the global scenario, most of the highly paid jobs are backed by Indian based students or Indian based people. Why? Because we do have that kind of intelligence. What are we doing? We are going out, studying there, and we are taking up a job there. Why not come back to our own country, make India self-sufficient? As ma'am rightly said, that in the coming years it is going to be a youth-centric country. Yes, we do have a lot of youth in our country, but how are we molding them? So basically, it comes to the educators. Educators should be open for change. Educators should be able to accept the fact that yes, what we have been teaching for all these years, we were focusing on the curriculum. We are focusing on the syllabus. We are focusing on completion of the portion. We are focusing on correction of paper. We are focusing on giving the results. But no, it needs to change. Somewhere we need to bring about concept-based learning. We need to bring about collaborative learning. We need to bring about teamwork. Why? Because you might come out with flying colors in your paper, but then tomorrow when you go into the workforce and you are not able to adjust there to a team of people, you're not able to lead, you are lacking in your communication skills, you're lacking in your personality, you're lacking in your collaborative skills, you will not be able to lead that particular team. And you will see highly professional, highly qualified people always end up working for someone who has more of professional skills, who has more of talent, who has more of efficiency to handle that team. So rather than we focusing on the content, focus on the concept. Focus on the concept so that the child understands how to apply that content or apply that concept in the real world. So there comes our teamwork. There comes our role as an educator to change the way of teaching. We might put up a lot of platforms, ma'am, but then until and unless it is accepted, it cannot function. And we all educators have to come together, because without an orchestra, we can't put forward a symphony. And if we have to bring that change, it is our role as principals to empower our teachers, at the same time empower our students as well. Give them the duties, give them the roles. School should be a place to make mistake, and they should be able to we should be able to identify the mistakes that the students have done, and we should be able to correct them. Because once they come out into the real world and they make mistake, then it is very difficult for them to be accepted by the people around them. So give them the platform in the school itself, in the classrooms itself. Give them a chance to be a part of multiple platforms. Give them opportunity to write, give them opportunity to speak, give them opportunity to be a part of national international competitions. There is where they develop their talent. There is where they identify their skill. There is where they know what they are good at. I have seen students coming till 11th standard. When they come, they do not know what they are good at, what they like. They do not know. Why? Because they are focusing on their 10th standard board exam. 11th and 12th, everybody is going for NEET and JEE. Why? Because they want to either become doctors or engineers. There are many platforms, there are many courses. Give them the opportunity. So on that note, yes, ma'am, NEP definitely, until and unless we as educators implement it properly. Thank you very much. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, it's I love this point of yours introducing of Sanskrit, because I think in olden days बीमारियां बहुत कम होती थी. Illness was very rare. The people of the olden times were so healthy, mindset was so clean. And why? Because Sanskrit was used as a subject and as a part of rituals also. And myself being a healer, I have seen that, when you speak Sanskrit, the words that you speak on Sanskrit, they touch all the parts of the roof of our inner cavity of the mouth. When you speak the word, the whole chakras get healed. संस्कृत में इतनी पावर है कि वो सारे चक्र हीलिंग होता है हमारे बॉडी का. So when that happens, and when you start this from the age of 7 to 8 years onwards, from third standard to fourth standard, believe me, the children are so wonderfully developed with all around development. Mindset is pure, and academic performance increases, because no medicines can ever give you such kind of a miracle. No kind of counseling can give you such kind of a miracle. It's only about introducing Sanskrit and using the words. The words touch the whole system of the body, and automatically the child, it's kind of a brain development activity, you can say. So that can be developed from the age of 7 to 8 years onwards. And you said कि हम दौड़ में लगे रहते हैं, rote learning and this is happening everywhere. And as you said, we need to create the wonderful concept learning. Let us all blend together through the IDYM platform and start this kind of an implementative curriculum now.
Absolutely.
Rather than calling any other curriculum, we need to start, because I think NEP को लेके इतने सारे conferences हो रहे हैं, इतने सारे I think educational platforms हो रहे हैं, but the implementation is not happening. बातें बहुत हो रही है. Walk the talk is not happening. So when we say we need to implement, you have said that coming out of the comfort zone is the need of the heart. Forget all, shed your inhibitions, shed all your comforts. अगर जाना पड़े मैदान में लड़ने तो चलो मैदान में लड़ने बच्चों को लेके. That is where the change is going to happen unless we educators step in the war zone. Because we are soldiers too. We have to see that बच्चों का well-being अगर यहाँ होना है तो हमें पहले step in करना पड़ेगा, and that we all are doing. All of you are doing so wonderfully on this platform, and I salute you all. And thank you so much, ma'am, for all this. And one question I would like to ask you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
In your school, what kind of change is happening in the innovation sector using NEP as a catalyst after the introduction of this syllabus? Because as you said, it is implemented so long before. अभी इतना highlight क्यों हो रहा है? And you spoke about Raja Ram Mohan Roy's policy and all. So, do you see this change happening currently after the introduction of the NEP?
See, I used to earlier be working with ICSE, CBSE, and IB background, and currently I'm heading a state board school. And a state board school is like, a frog in the well. The kind of curriculum that we follow here is strictly based on the textbook. The concept is taught from the textbook. The questions are asked from the book, and that is what we are doing here. My focus here is to pull them out of that system, and we have introduced a lot of activity-based learning wherein children are learning by doing. We have introduced collaborative learning. We have introduced project-based learning for the students. Opened up a lot of platforms for intra-school competitions wherein within the standard the students are competing with themselves, be it shloka competition, be it elocution competition, be it debate. So this right from lower classes, and shloka I literally mean from senior KG. When you spoke about Sanskrit, shloka is as a content, as a subject, it is introduced in the 8th standard, depending upon the curriculum. But then here we have implemented it right from nursery, wherein a child can say a few shlokas, child can recite a few shlokas, child need not read it, because you can hear and you can recite. You do not need to read that particular language. So we have definitely implemented that from the lower classes as well. And teacher training. Teacher training is something that we are focusing on, wherein we as learners need to learn. We as educators need to update ourselves on a regular basis. We cannot teach the children the way we have been learning in our earlier days, because our students of today, 10, 20 years later, they are leading the globe. They are the global citizens. So we need to equip them with that kind of talent and skill. For us to equip them, we need to know that. So this period of pandemic was a learning phase for us. Many of us were not comfortable on the Zoom platform or the Google Meet platform. We had WhatsApp video, we had Skype, but how many of us actually used it? We never used it. Only when we were forced to take classes on the digital platform, we actually moved into it. So yes, we have implemented that as well. Moving into the digital world helps us to connect with the global counterparts. See, we are sitting here. I am here in India. You are in some other part of the country. Imam ma'am, Egypt. We are connecting with each other. Thank you to this 5G that we have got here. Thanks to the global world has shrunk. Thanks to the digital pandemic world. So these are the small things. Apart from that, we learn a lot from the textbook. We learn a lot from the curriculum. But we also need to understand that there are people in the society who are not as privileged as we are. There are people who are underprivileged. They require some amount of help. So India is an agricultural country, ma'am. But how many of our children would want to grow up to become farmers? There are cases in our country wherein, because of the drought, the farmers are not able to earn their livelihood. There are many suicide cases that happened a couple of years ago. So we as a school have implemented a lot of social outreach activities as well. Few I would like to name here is India is a country wherein, or rather Maharashtra as a state where I stay, we have Alfonso mango, which is the king of the fruit, and it comes only during those few months. But after that, what? So the seed of the Alfonso, what we did is, the project that we implemented is, After the May vacation, during the May vacation, students were asked to collect the seeds, mango seeds, wash, dry, and keep the seeds with us. And they brought it to the school. We sent it to nurseries. In the nurseries, it was converted into sapling. And 6 months later, those saplings were given to the farmers nearby, and they have planted it. And now this project started last year. It was hugely appreciated by government of Maharashtra, and we have also got a certificate from the Department of Forest Department of Maharashtra. And we rolled this project as a year-long project. After then, we moved it into a seasonal project, wherein after the mango seed, it came the jamun seed, then the custard apple, then the sapota, chiku, then the jackfruit. So we have done that in that scenario. Apart from that, everyone is talking about plastic as a huge hindrance, should I say. But I would personally say plastic is one of the best invention. We do not know how to use it. We are not disposing it off in the right manner. If you dispose it off in the right manner, you can actually recycle plastic.
Exactly.
And it will not land up in the landfill. It will not create a problem for us. So we have started a plastic collection drive. Then we moved on to the e-waste collection drive. Paper is recycled. Shoes are recycled. So that is a recycling, a kind of reduce, reuse, and recycling kind of project that we have gotten into. We talk about festivals. Festival binds us together, whether it be it Holi, Diwali, Christmas, or Dashera, or Ganesha for that matter, which is a very, very huge festival here in Maharashtra. What do we do? 5 days, 10 days, we pray and we dispose of the idol into a water body. After that, what? So what we did is we took the students after the immersion, idol immersion, the next day to the lake. And there we showed them that 10 days long ritual that we completed. We have just immersed the idol, and the idol was found in broken pieces in the water body, which is again creating a problem for the ecosystem. We made the students clean the lake. It is not that our one day effort is going to make any change, but then yes, the child sees it, the child understands it, and the child tomorrow when he grows up, he understands the value of his actions that is causing the implication on the ecosystem. We took the students to old age home. Why? Because tomorrow when you grow up, when you are strong enough, do not leave your parents in an old age home. That is not the right thing to do. We took our students to disabled school. Why? Because we are privileged. There are people who are born disabled, not their fault. Acceptance is something that we need to bring them together. So these are the small things that I, as a principal of the school, have implemented these kind of activities, even though it is not in the curriculum. But I feel we have to mold our students in such a manner that all-round development of the child is really very important in today's world. Just rote learning, just understanding the concepts of physics, maths, history, geography is not going to help. You need to have a humanitarian touch to everything that you do. You need to be able to understand the other person. Money is there today or tomorrow, but then the people will remember how you treated them. So these are the small things, ma'am, that we have implemented at our place.
That is why I wanted you to say, because I myself am in Mumbai and I have so many people connecting with me, that how you can implement these kind of programs. What are the strategies? What are the technicalities and the techniques? So please share this today's session all over for your the examples of Ushavati ma'am, how she has implemented them in the school with beautiful and amazing down-to-earth experiments. And that is the change, that is the catalyst needed for the particular hour. Hats off to you, ma'am. Salute to you for implementing the change and being a true educator come change maker for NEP 2020. Thank you so much. And it's a privilege to have you here to host you also.
Thank you, Sonali ma'am. Thank you.
And before I end the session for after 10 minutes, I would like to call all the speakers on board to have the privilege of being the catalyst. What will you do as a catalyst to implement innovation in the sector that you are in? I'll start from Ritambara ma'am. Please come. Ritambara ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Take the stage.
I'm an educator. So as an educator, what I'm to do is I would give certain ideas in my institution so that like we discussed about the skill education. Yes, exposure of students to textile industries. So I'm certainly going to give this idea in my institute so that this could be done.
Excellent, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent, excellent. And that is why I want all of you to share one advice. That advice is going to empower each and everyone across the globe. Thank you so much, ma'am. And my next one is Iman, ma'am. Catalyst in education. What will you do?
Yes, my dear sister, we need to focus on, because I am working as co-host now, so I am doing some things. So we need to focus on ethics and value-based education. It's very important to be appreciated and to be respected. And also as a botanist, I need to say, without roots, no fruits. So we need to appreciate our values. We need to appreciate the roots. I can see, as you know, Gandhi as one of best changers in India. He said about our Prophet Muhammad, peace and prayers upon him, that he has affected on hearts of millions of people by ethics. So Allah said about our Prophet Muhammad, peace and prayers upon him, that he has the greatest ethics. So we need to focus on ethics because we are followers of messengers as an educator. So we must appreciate value-based education and ethics-based education. We must learn our students to accept, to respect, to appreciate all people, to affect on humanity and to be changer, because without being that changer, so we will not affect our future. Appreciation to all of you again, and appreciation to IDYM for giving me the opportunity to be here. Thank you again.
Excellent, excellent, ma'am. That is what Ritambara ma'am, and you have said about assets and skills. So I think we all love pizza over here. So we all like to have the pizza of our toppings. So why not implement the same pizza strategy in the education system, in the NEP system, by putting the toppings of what is missing in the education system and incorporating and eating that pizza and giving their share of that pizza to the children also. Awesome, ma'am. Thank you so much. And my next one is, I think, Ekta ma'am. Please take the stage.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. What I feel like is that I am the catalyst to trigger the behavioral change in my child's life. Sorry. When we talk about changing the environment, maintaining what we have lost in the previous years, that can't be recovered until and unless we make a behavioral change, as Ushavati ma'am had been discussing. Whatever strategies are being followed, they are going to bring a behavioral change. A child is going to understand when he's going to be the grown-up, and we are not even waiting for the child to be a grown-up. He's able to bring that change gradually in his personality as per time is passing. Then about the changes, not waiting for the changes to be imposed by the government and trying to implement it in our system, so that it's not a forced action, so that none of the teachers are being forced to adapt it. It has to come in their behavior also. So that behavioral change is required in us teachers as well. And I am from City Montessori School, Lucknow. So what my school has started since last 2 years is they have built up a strategy with the nomenclature of Vision 2025. And before it's going to be implemented by the government, all teachers training and change of system of assessments is being implemented as a part of the school curriculum. So it's really going to help us face the world and be ready when it's going to be strictly being imposed by the government, that it has to be followed by everyone. So it's going to be in the system, by the system, for the system.
Exactly. Wonderful. That is what we say. A catalyst is just a word, but we need to become the catalyst. We need to blend with all the chemicals and show the chemical reactions now. So we are the catalyst. The change has to happen from all of us. And through IDYM, we are creating wonderful, amazing, productive, constructive sessions to be implemented beyond education. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. So my last one, I think, is I think I covered Ushavati, ma'am. Please take the stage for the last catalyst change maker advice for a message for all.
Collaboration. We need to all come together. We need to be open to change. We need to learn from each other. Not only learn from each other, but we need to impart it to our teachers, empower our teachers, empower our students, and implement it in the right manner. Because if we do not do that, then whatever policies the government will roll out, it will not go to the grassroots level. So it starts with us. We are collaborating, we are learning, we should be accepting the change that we are learning, we should be willing to adapt to the changes that others are implementing in their system, and then try to implement in our own system. Good or bad, we will come to know slowly and steadily when we are actually working towards it. But rather than highlighting the flaws of the NEP later on, when we actually implement it, we should take it up as an issue, saying that yes, this particular thing can be done in this particular manner, and we can update it. So NEP should be updated based on our views, because government will not know. We are the ones who are implementing at the grassroots level. We principals have to make sure that it is implemented in the right manner. So whatever sessions we are attending, whichever trainings we are attending, make sure that we are going back to our own school culture and imparting it back to them. Because if we are learning and we are not passing it on, it is of no use. Knowledge is always there to be shared. And once it goes to the teachers, they are the ones who are getting into the classrooms. They are the ones dealing with those 30, 40 students in the class. They are the change makers. So we are the catalysts, ma'am.
Exactly.
Thank you, ma'am.
That is what I wanted to hear. Collaboration is the fundamental, you can say, the binding force of all the other discussion, of all the other, what is missing in the NEP. So collaboration from people across the globe through IDYM is creating a change maker for all. And to have a wonderful review of the session, we have the most honorable guest, Betkar sir ma'am, to give the highlight of this today's session. That was a roundtable conference. I think hats off to you, all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonal madam. As per every day, I received so many knowledge from your resource person and under your moderationship. Every resource person tried to explain innovation in different sections. Dr. Shetty, principal madam, is very active on LinkedIn. I always see her different activities on LinkedIn and like also that award-winning school of her. And I was not knowing up to yet how she is doing such innovative work in her school. Today I got an opportunity to listen directly to her. Thank you, madam, and best wishes for your projects. You are very active principal, and you are giving a dimension to your school. Now, the point, innovation in different sections. Since what is innovation? Innovation is just what is existing. We have to add innovative way to minimize the drawbacks. So, fortunately, I was the examiner of the NCERT projects of state level and NCERT. So, I received, examined so many projects from students from primary to high school level. So, they have with all innovative ideas, and they are trying to do something new one to minimize the drawbacks. So as just madam said that the projects organizing in her school and the competition, all this supports activity. Means if you see, there are patents from sharpener, compass, just water bottle, air bag, school bag. All these innovations come when a student or teacher thinks that it is something having drawback. If we improve that drawback, that is the innovation. So if you give idea to the students, or if you develop a vision to the students, what you are thinking, what are the drawbacks of it, how we improve it. So these innovations starts from childhood, and when it comes to the PG level or UG level, that student gives an innovative idea which can be patentable. As my student who was always taking the part in the science exhibition, he got the patent in rocket fuels. Now he is teacher in the Singapore University. So this innovation, thinking through the innovation, creating the projects, and giving vision to the students is the part of our duty of teacher, and every teacher can do this, so that we all are the educators. As per completing our educational curriculum, if we give some idea to the student to participate in such competitions, and if they overcome with their drawbacks of a project, as madam said that plastic is also not so wrong thing, but if you utilize it in proper way. There was a patent of madam from Nagpur. She used that plastic for making the roads. So these are the innovations. When we can't able to destroy it proper way, then we have to use it for the beneficial of the society. So all these should be inculcated in our students' mind, so that they can become an entrepreneur or a factory holder or scientist in future also. Thank you, madam, for introducing today's best topic for this dais. Thank you to Ravi Shankar sir. Thank you to all.
Thank you to the speakers for so wonderfully highlighting the beautiful aspects and joining the loops and the missing puzzles. And good to hear from each and every different kind of mindset and the expertise of each and everyone. And before I end, a few words from myself. The National Education Policy highlights several causes for the learning crisis, including lack of school readiness, but it does not address the negative consequences of over-ambitious curricula or the common practice of teaching to the top of the class. The operation of the schools themselves could be in private hands if they are deemed to be more efficient to deliver better child outcomes at lower costs. The children who come to acquire knowledge and learning, our mission is, should we choose to accept it, is to build a mini version of their future healthy individuals and all around deflated hopes and dreams. We need to help them become the best them, not the best us. So we are the best. Let us make them the best through us being the catalyst, being the change makers. Thank you to each and everyone for a successful, wonderful session number 24 on 24th day of this amazing topic of catalyst as an innovation change maker, and break the shackles, be the catalyst. Hats off to you all. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you so much, ma'am.